Sorry, Sabalenka up the top, Swiatek down the bottom. It's going to be Gauff versus Sabalenka in the semifinals. Gauff, Sabalenka. All right, Palini is going to play Sabalenka in the quarters, if the seeds play out, potentially.
Aryna Sabalenka may once again be forced to face her biggest challenge, as she is on track to meet Coco Gauff in the semifinals of the Australian Open, assuming both players make it through their earlier matches. Even the possibility of this showdown has sent a buzz through the tennis world, and there's a very real reason for it. If there is one opponent Sabalenka would rather avoid, it is Coco Gauff. For the current world number one, Gauff has become a recurring problem she simply cannot ignore. The numbers tell a clear and uncomfortable story for the Belarusian star. No other player has beaten Sabalenka more times in Grand Slam finals than Coco Gauff. That single fact says everything about how intense, lopsided, and emotionally charged this rivalry has become.
Regardless of who I played, I think I had a good shot to win, and I definitely had that belief. And
Sabalenka's concern is completely justified, and anyone who closely follows women's tennis understands why. Ever since Coco Gauff burst onto the scene and began her rapid rise, she has consistently blocked Sabalenka's path at the biggest stages. Time and again, when Sabalenka has reached a semifinal or final and found Gauff waiting on the other side of the net, the outcome has gone against her. This is not just about losing matches, it's about how those losses happened, when they happened, and the lasting mental impact they've had on one of the most powerful players in the women's game. To truly understand why this matchup weighs so heavily on Sabalenka, you have to go back to where it all started. That moment came at the US Open final in 2023, a match that permanently changed the tone of their rivalry. Going into that final, everything pointed toward a Sabalenka victory. She had more experience, more raw power, and already carried the confidence of a Grand Slam champion. On paper, the advantage was clearly hers. The opening set only reinforced that belief. Sabalenka dominated early, winning the first set 6-2. Her serve was strong, her ground strokes were aggressive, and Coco Gauff looked overwhelmed by the moment and by the pace coming from the other side of the court. At that point, it seemed like the match was slipping away from the young American. But then the story changed. Coco Gauff showed the mental strength and determination that would soon become her signature. She adjusted her game, settled her nerves, and slowly began to take control. The second set went to Gauff 6-3, and suddenly the match felt completely different. The energy inside Arthur Ashe Stadium shifted, and the crowd could sense that something special was unfolding. In the deciding set, Gauff completed one of the most memorable comebacks in recent US Open history. She won the third set 6-2, securing her first Grand Slam title. The final score read 2-6, 6-3, 6-2 in favor of Coco Gauff. That day marked the beginning of a troubling pattern for Sabalenka. It wasn't just a tough loss, it was the start of repeated heartbreak at the hands of the same opponent during the most important moments. Losing a Grand Slam final after being in control is painful on its own. Losing multiple big matches to the same player creates something much deeper, a mental hurdle that becomes harder to clear each time. Fast forward to the WTA Finals in 2024, one of the most prestigious events in women's tennis. Once again, fate brought Aryna Sabalenka and Coco Gauff face to face, this time in the semifinals. Sabalenka was determined to move past the disappointment of their previous encounters and earn her place in the final. But once again, Coco Gauff stood in her way. Gauff won the first set 7-6 in a tense tiebreak, then followed it up with a 6-3 win in the second set. This loss was especially difficult for Sabalenka because she had real opportunities. The opening set was extremely close and could have gone either way. Yet when the pressure was at its highest, it was Gauff who stayed calm, raised her level, and delivered when it mattered most. Sabalenka was left watching her rival celebrate yet again after another major defeat. If anyone believed that this pattern would end there, they were mistaken. The nightmare continued into 2025. Sabalenka reached the final of Roland Garros, chasing her fourth Grand Slam title and hoping to finally put an end to this frustrating cycle. She battled through a demanding draw and came within one match of lifting another major trophy. Standing across the net from her in that final was once again Coco Gauff. And once again, Gauff denied Sabalenka her moment. The American claimed the Roland Garros title, adding another Grand Slam to her growing list of achievements and handing Sabalenka yet another painful loss in a high-stakes match. From that point on, Coco Gauff became more than just a rival for Aryna Sabalenka. She became a mental barrier, one that seemed to grow stronger with every meeting. What has drawn attention is how Sabalenka has tried to explain these defeats. After the French Open final, she suggested that her own mistakes, not Gauff's superiority, were the main reason for the loss. But that explanation raises an obvious question. If it was just one bad match, that might make sense. However, when the same player beats you 3 times in major moments, 2 Grand Slam finals and a WTA Finals semifinal, it's no longer coincidence. At that point, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Sabalenka may frame the losses as her own errors, but the tennis world sees it differently. Great champions don't repeatedly fall short against the same opponent unless that opponent is forcing those mistakes. Coco Gauff has clearly found a winning approach against Sabalenka. Whether it's her ability to absorb power, her speed and defensive skills, her calm under pressure, or a mix of all three, the formula is working. This makes the potential Australian Open semi-final even more concerning for Sabalenka. The Australian Open now represents more than just another chance at a trophy. It's about facing her biggest challenge, proving her mental strength, and showing that true champions can rise above repeated setbacks. The pressure is real, the stakes are enormous, and tennis fans everywhere are waiting to see how this story unfolds.